Good evening. Today is Monday, October 16, 2023. The time is 6 o'clock. This is the regular session of the School Board of Trustees of School City of East Chicago. The place is the Administration Building, 1401 East 144th Street, East Chicago, Indiana, 46312. We are also via live stream at www.scec.k12.in.us. This is a meeting of the School Board in public to conduct the school corporation business, and it is not to be considered a public community meeting. In addition, I hereby certify that the work sessions, exec session held on October 12th, 2023, that nothing was discussed during those meetings other than the topics included in the post and advertised notice of the meeting as required under Indiana Law 5-14-1.5-6.1. I call this meeting to order. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez.
Present.
Trustee Smith. Present. Trustee Hernandez Orange.
Present.
Trustee Gibson King.
Present.
Chairman Rodriguez.
Present. May we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, may we please have a moment of silence for former State Rep Donna Harris, who is actually, who's?
Jewel Harris. Late Jewel Harris.
Late Joel Harris,
Wife.
wife. Please have or Earl Harris, I'm sorry. Please have a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Item 3, agenda approval of the agenda. Are there any comments from the audience of approving the agenda? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
Princella Askew, 2705 East Guadalupe Circle, East Chicago, Indiana. I'd like to make a comment in regards to the agenda from last week, and I'm praying that it don't be like it is this week. I thought that it was entirely too long, and most of the kids that was there didn't get a chance to eat. They had to go to bed hungry. They had homework to do. And if you can you please, think about it. You want the community to come, but when you have meetings that long, we're not going to come. At least I'm not coming because I have other things to do. So I appreciate everything you let us know about and everything, but I think you need to fine-tune your agendas. Thank you. And no, I'm not going to speak later on at the end of the meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Sherry Adams, I'm an East Chicago resident. I just want to also say I was here for that last meeting that was over at Central High School. And by my watch, it lasted like 4.5 hours because I stayed for the entire thing. And I was able to witness the exhaustion I saw you guys experience. Again, I say, other than your other duties and responsibilities that you have, not even talking about you all's families, it was just, for lack of a better word, just poor judgment that you all would put yourselves through that, including any audience members that had come that day. So as the lady said, please work on that. Please work on it. And again, in my humble opinion, everything that you all discussed and or voted on in that last meeting from 8 o'clock till 10:25 need to be scratched, and y'all need to revisit it, because you all were exhausted. And I don't think an exhausted mind can make rational judgments and decisions. Thank you.
Any other discussions from the audience? At this hearing none, do I hear a motion for board approval on item 3?
Trustee, Chairman Rodriguez,
Trustee Hernandez-Orange.
I actually would like to remove, after discussion with the superintendent, item 6.06.
6.06.
Yes,
Is there a
we-
second?
I second it.
We would like to further discuss with the actually, he would like to further discuss with us as a whole.
Are there any comments from the audience with regards to tabling item 6.0?
Removing.
Or removing 6.06
Oh, we're gonna remove it.
of the agenda? Hearing none. Any discussions from the board? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Because sometimes you all have different paperwork than we have. So when you say item 606, is that approval of MOU with USA Connect LLC?
That is
Correct.
correct.
And who is MOU?
Memorandum of Understanding?
Okay. USA Connect.
That's who we need to find out who it is as a board. That's why we're going to ask to have it removed so we can further discuss.
Oh, okay, very good. Thank you.
Discussion from the board? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Okay. Any discussions regarding the amended approval of the agenda? Hearing none. Madam Secretary, roll call.
There's no motion. I'll make a motion for approval of the amended agenda.
The motion made by Trustee Hernandez-Orange. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Trustee Smith. Any discussions? Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 4, consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of item 4.01, distribution of payroll, 4.02, fundraiser, and 4.03, donations. Are there any comments from the audience of the approval of the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 4?
I make a motion for approval.
Motion made by Trustee Hernandez-Orange,
Second.
second by Trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 5, old business, 5.01, approval of second reading, policy PO 0167.3, participation at board meetings. Attorney Harris?
So the policy committee did have an opportunity to meet and incorporated some comments that came up regarding this policy. You'll notice that they've been incorporated in the document that you see in board docs, and it's now dated October the 12th of this year. I don't know if Trustee Gomez, who's the chair of that committee, would like to add anything to it. I know he worked with Attorney Snow in my office, along with Trustee Gibson King on the final version of this. So Trustee Gomez, was there anything else you'd like to add?
No, not really. We've incorporated some of the recommendations that were passed on to the committee, and this should be ready for final approval.
All right, the only thing I will point out that is in addition, it was intended to provide a point of clarification, and that's if an audience member were to speak on a specific agenda item, they can speak to that same item again in their regular public comment. They're not restricted one way or the other. I think that came up during the policy meeting as to whether or not there was a restriction. So no, there's not. The public comment portion isn't restricted by anything other than just the general rules. such as you can't talk about personnel matters, et cetera. But if you talked about an agenda item as it came up on the agenda and you haven't got it all off your chest and you want to talk about it more later during public comments, the member of the public is free to do so. Outside of that, that's it.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the audience approving the approval of second reading policy number PO 0167.3, participation at board meetings? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 5.01?
I make a motion, Mr. President, to
Motion
approve
made.
5.01.
Motion made by trustee Gibson King. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Are there any discussions?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
previously in the last meeting, there was a couple things that I thought was important to note about this agenda item. And the first thing is that it's, again, given priority to certain type of individuals within the school or who come to speak. Again, if I don't meet the criteria of having a child here first, you're putting a criteria to who speaks first. I don't think that's necessary by any means. That's an issue that, again, we're leaving on there. And the second item that I said last time was in regards to just that. So, sorry, it was just that. I personally don't agree with this. If you are here and you want to help the school district, or if you have a comment, you're entitled to that. You get here first, you get here first, you get here last, you get here last. We have meetings where sometimes they last long, sometimes they don't. And if you really want to express their opinion, they should be able to do so. So I personally don't agree with the change. I asked if it could get changed, but that didn't happen. It would be nice to have everyone's input.
Any other discussion? The only comment I'd like to make is that, say, for example, if we have 30 individuals participating in a comment, and you have three individuals that have kids that go to school the next day, I can see where that may favor them, but given the fact that everybody's going to have an opportunity to speak, that's something that we're serious about. But that's really what I see in this policy, is allowing, is not numbering, okay, this person has a parent, let's push this person to the front line. That's not how I read this policy. So I read it as if a person has, if a parent has a comment and has a child present with that parent, I think they would, that's how I'm reading the policy.
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
It verbatim says that we will be given priority to address the board if you are in the school corporation, if you have a child in the school corporation, followed by persons who own a business and to conduct business in the corporation. So if I own a business and I am, let's say, 80 years old and my bedtime is 9 o'clock, yet we have parents who are here and they want to speak. Their children are not here, they're just here. How do we become why do we get to determine who gets to go first and who gets to not go first? That's my thing, because the opinion of one is the same thing.
Well,
We've had it where we've had parents come in and we knew the kids were here, and they actually worked something out amongst themselves to have those parents with children here go first. So we've gone through that process, but in reality, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other discussions? Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
No.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
No.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 5.02, approval of second reading, policy P.O. 3120, employment of professional staff. Attorney Harris.
Again, this policy, which is in front of the board for second reading, is regarding the employment of professional staff. This was before the policy committee. They also discussed this at their last meeting and incorporated some additional language that you'll see on page 2. And it expounds on the issue of administrative guidelines for recruitment and selection of professional staff. And you'll see a kind of a listing there, which is an addition to that criteria. Trustee Gomez, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, just as with all the other policies we read, we left it open to members of the board and the community for input, and this is what we came up with.
The majority of the additions, all those additions that you see on page 2 all relate to specific posting requirements. And that's the end of my overview.
Are there any comments from the audience approving the second reading of policy PO 3120, employment of professional staff? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving 5.02, item 5.02?
President, I'll make a motion to accept.
Motion made by trustee Gibson King. Is there a second? Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions?
Chairman?
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
So this is my second time saying this, like I did last week, as well as in my emails that I've had previously, which nothing has changed after I gave my input. So again, I go to the fact that, and I'm not sure if you guys are understanding this policy committee when I say this. 3120 says employment of professional staff. We in the school district do not refer to professionals, those who have certification as professional staff anymore. They're either considered certified or they're considered non-certified. This is the reason why I asked if you could change the title, because that's actually how it's used within the school district. So you would just assume that the language used in both would be the same. I've asked this before. The second thing that I discussed, which is, again, an issue, was the fact that in this policy, it states verbatim, which shall be subject to review and approval by the board in regards to administrative guidelines. We do not approve administrative guidelines by the superintendent. We could view them, but approving administrative guidelines is a day-to-day operation that is from the superintendent. We, as the board, should not be involved in that. We've been in instances where we've seen administrative guidelines, we've had them, we reviewed them, but no action needed to take place, as in no approval by the board. With that being said, I ask that we remain within our duties of allowing the superintendent to do his day-to-day task, and that we revisit this policy and rewrite it.
Are there any discussions? Any other discussions?
Okay.
Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith? No. Trustee Hernandez Orange?
No.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 5.03, approval of second reading, policy PO 5111.03, public schools enrollment restrictions. Attorney Harris.
Policy number 5111.03 is entitled Public School Enrollment Restrictions. This is another policy that's before the board on second reading. It went before the policy committee. There are quite a few edits that are listed here, but basically it does involve the transfer of students and the criteria associated with that. I believe that our interim superintendent was involved in this as well. I don't know if he wants to add anything to this in terms of background or thought process.
Yeah, when we were crafting this, this policy, we actually sought the guidance from the state, and some places where we were talking about enrollment, it actually looking at the whole thing, it was transfer. And so this is really just to get a handle over the movement of students within the school district, knowing that the movement or our enrollment and it's really going to be based upon capacity of buildings and not necessarily anything else. However, we haven't really set those thresholds, and this policy helps put some guidance in place so that we can get better control over the students in our building, how we're serving the students, and making sure that we have adequate teachers and staff to ensure that our students will have a successful experience in the district.
That might take place in determining whether a particular school can accept a child or not. It's really just going to be based on a number. There's a number that needs to be established in terms of how many children can a particular school handle. And so long as we're not at that threshold, then they should be accepted, right? But once the school reaches its capacity in terms of what it can reasonably handle, in order to ensure, proper educational services, we need to cut it off at a certain point, and that's what this policy does. It says, hey, transferring is fine, but if we reach that number for that particular school, then it's not. And it's the end of the overview.
Are there any comments from the audience approving of, approval of second reading of policy P0 or PO 5111.03, public schools enrollment restrictions? Yes, ma'am.
So just to reiterate, Attorney said, this doesn't have anything to do with what side of town that child lives on. So no, you can't go to this school because you live on that side of town. It just has to do with the capacity of that particular school.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 5.03?
Yeah, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve 5.03.
Motion made by trustee Gibson King. Is there a second? Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Dr. Mitchell, first off, thank you for responding to me in regards to the questions. But in regards to the McKinney-Vento students, so I know that's a different subject where, yes, we have a policy, but when it comes to this policy specifically, we cannot have enrollment restrictions for them, correct? For McKinney-Vento? And maybe that's in the other policy, I'm not for sure.
Well, when we look at the McKinley-Vento, many of those students are homeless and things like that. So what we would do, we'll take, this policy gives some leverage to the board to make additional considerations for circumstances like that. But however, when it comes down to serving a student, we're going to do everything to the best of our ability to make sure that we accommodate those McKinley-Vento students as well as any other student that wants to receive an education here in the school city of East Chicago.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments from the board? Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6, new business, 6.01, personnel report. Are there any comments from the audience for the approval of the personnel report? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve item 6.01? Motion made by trustee Smith. Are there any second? I'll second that motion. Are there any discussions from the board?
Yeah,
Chairman.
Mr. President. Oh, go ahead, Vanessa.
Nope.
Go ahead.
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'm just wondering why we didn't have the other individuals that were removed last time that were tabled, why they're not back on the agenda, the personnel item. Because if it's tabled,
Was it tabled to this meeting, or was it?
Yes.
yeah, it was tabled to this meeting. We removed it from the meeting and why they weren't on here. And if that's the case, can I just add them on? What was tabled?
Well, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so correct me if I'm wrong. When it was tabled at the last meeting?
Correct.
And was it tabled to this meeting?
No, we didn't have.
It didn't specifically say tabled to this meeting, it was just tabled.
So unless it was tabled to a specific meeting, you would have to make a motion to amend the personnel report to add them to it.
Okay, so I'd like to amend the agenda items by adding the two individuals who have now finished the season, who actually worked the season. And those doc numbers from last week, I could bring that back up. Give me 1 second so I could tell you exactly.
And just while you're bringing that up so we don't lose track of what we're doing, I could easily do that. This sounds like a secondary motion, right? We already have a motion and a second for the to approve the personnel report as it is.
Correct.
But this is a secondary motion to approve an amended personnel report.
And those doc numbers are 3518 and 3519.
Repeat that one more time?
3518, 3519. 18, 3519.
So motion is made to add is that a doc number?
Yes.
3518 and 3519. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Smith. Are there any comments from the audience regarding Trustee Hernandez Orange adding 3518 from the last board meeting and 3519? And I'm not sure if we can say names, so if that's what.
You cannot.
Yes, ma'am.
Not gonna say names, just glad that, that trustee did bring that back. Got up there real quickly, a minute ago and spoke and said, some of the stuff from the last meeting need to be revisited because you guys were extremely sorry that that happened to you, but you weren't. Some stuff needs to be revisited. Thank you.
Are there any other discussions from the audience? Okay, we got a first and a second, I believe. Any discussion from the board?
Yes, I got some discussion.
Trustee Gibson King?
These individuals, now it's my understanding that from the personnel report, they were already hired before we even voted on them. So now how did that happen? They was already working. When we got the personnel report, it was dated in August. Okay, so now here it is, October. We had this meeting October the 2nd. So when did we vote on these individuals to work?
I mean, I agree. Chairman, I agree. We should just get everything in a timely manner. I think that was the reason why Dr. Mitchell decided he wanted to make a policy to make sure that that happened, but at the same time, that's not really his responsibility. It's the responsibility of the athletic director to make his plan. I know he's overwhelmed right now, and I think as we move forward, it'll work accordingly. But has this happened beforehand? Absolutely. It's not like it's happened, unfortunately. So with that being said, I think everyone will now know exactly where everyone's at. I think they're working on a plan to get the athletic director some help so this won't happen moving forward. But again, how can you not pay somebody for doing the work?
We're not talking about, is that what we're speaking of? We're going to pay them, right? We're not speaking about not paying them.
You have to approve them in order to pay them.
Any other discussions?
Yes, I got some discussion about the personnel report.
Yes.
Yes. Number 35.
I'll tell you what, we have a second motion on.
Yeah, this is just for the addition of
Yeah,
this.
go ahead then.
Okay. Madam Secretary, roll call on the second motion.
Trustee Gomez?
Mr. President, I do have a question. This is actually a follow-up to Trustee Smith's concern about one or more of these individuals. It was tabled for the purpose of receiving information pertaining to the employees in question. we never received any information. So we're at the same point that we were 2 weeks ago.
Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
No.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
No.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Now, I believe you had
Yes, I got
questions
questions
regarding the
about,
personnel report.
yes, the personnel report.
So now we need a motion for
We need another motion.
for the amended personnel report.
Yes.
And I'll make a motion.
Well,
But,
she has, oh, you want to make the motion now?
Yes, you want to make a motion?
Okay, motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second? Second by trustee Smith. Go ahead, trustee Gibson King.
Yes. Let me put my glasses on, I can't even see these numbers here. 3534, these are administrative positions, 3555. This one doesn't even have a number for HR benefit. What number is that? That doesn't have a number.
Yeah, there's a couple of items on the personnel report without a doc number. It's, those doc numbers are not there because these were new positions.
All of them are new positions, from my understanding, is administrative coordinator. And what are these positions, coordinator? What are these?
HR has been without a coordinator for, I imagine that this is coming up on a year and a half now. And so this was to make sure that we had adequate coverage in HR to ensure that the business of the Human Resource Department continues on without any more interruptions. When you look at of course, and then you have the second one without doc number, that's a paraprofessional. And
No, I'm
then-
not speaking to those, Mr. Mitchell.
Well, I'm
I'm
just
speaking of,
addressing the doc numbers.
yeah, the doc numbers that I called off is 3534 and 3555. And these are administrative coordinators. I know what the HR coordinator
Right,
is.
okay,
I'm
so-
talking about these other two.
3534, that's bilingual transfer outreach coordinator. And so that's aligned with our English language department. And those folk are placed inside, in the buildings to assist with our EL populations. And that coordinator will coordinate the other BFOs that's currently in the buildings. I believe we have one in each of our buildings.
Okay, okay, now, are these positions dealing with Mrs. Medina?
They are dealing with these people do report to the Director of English Learners.
Is that Mrs. Medina? Oh, I'm sorry.
We have to
I'm
refrain
sorry.
from using names.
Is that the the director? I'm sorry.
Director of
Is
English
this,
Learners,
yeah,
yes.
is that her?
Those positions do report to the Director of English Learners.
Okay, well, I have some serious questions about this because what dollars, what funds are we spending this dollars out of?
We have the CFO that's here, she can speak to that, but this comes out of, there's a budget that's there, I believe that's Title IV funds, part of it, and then the other part may come from another account. Our CFO is here, she may be able to address your question further if you
Okay,
have a
thank you.
question about finance.
Okay.
This position will be shared by special ed and English learner. So it would be like a split salary. It's basically coming out of the MAC money fund.
What kind of funds you say?
MAC is fund that we get back from federal government for Medicaid.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussions from the board? Trustee Smith.
It's really not that much. It's just that, okay, I'm seeing that we have a community engagement liaison. So now all of our schools will be able to have their own liaison, community partnership liaison.
Yes, those community engagement liaisons, a part of that job description is, we know that the state of Indiana has the 21st Century Scholars Program, and the school city of East Chicago has been trending fairly low with participation with that particular program. These community engagement liaisons, one portion of their job, which I believe is one of the biggest portions of their job, is to ensure that we get all of the documentation that we need. Since the legislation went in place from the state of Indiana that says that any student that qualifies for the program will be put into the program. However, they're not activated in that program until all of the documentation is collected from the families to ensure that when they matriculate through high school, that at the end of the graduation, and they met the 12 pillars, that they'll be able to go on to college and receive that scholarship. These community liaisons will work with the schools, the counselors, as well as the parents to ensure that that data is there and is up to date, so that our students can take advantage of the opportunity that the state of Indiana gives them to continue their education after high school.
So basically, you're just saying that was something that was missing in our district for a while.
Yes, I believe this, yes, this was missing for a long period of time. And with these community engagement liaisons, we know that actually we're going to have them at each school, because there's those students, as they matriculate, you know that they can qualify for the 21st Century Scholarship Program, I think in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So that captures the elementary, the middle school, as well as high school. And it's just ensuring that we're taking advantage of capturing, again, that parent data that aligns with the student data, that ensures that that student will be able to take advantage of the opportunity that the state gives them in terms of the 21st Century Scholarship.
I thank you for that, because a lot of children have slipped through the cracks with the 21st century. So, yeah, thank you for that. And I think I have one more question. Let's see. It was, okay, I'm just asking, page 4, personnel, dual language. We have two. We have two dual language.
Yes, we do have two dual language. Harrison School is our designated dual language immersion program school, and they started off with kindergarten, and now those kindergartners have matriculated to the first grade. And so in order for us to continue that, at each grade level that those students hit, we'll add another grade level. So next year, there'll be a third. And this will go on until we have the proper staffing at each of the levels to ensure that this dual language program is implemented successfully at Harrison Elementary School.
Both of these are at Harrison?
Yes, kindergarten and first grade.
Both at Harrison School?
Yes, Harrison is our dual language immersion school.
Trustee Smith, are you completed
Yes,
with
I'm finished,
questions?
thank you.
Madam Secretary, roll call. Oh, Trustee Hernandez Orange.
First off, I want to say thank you very much to the HR as well as the CFO. So in this is for everyone to see, if in your personnel report, on the right-hand side where it says comment, on there's actually something that says funding, and then you could see where these people are getting paid from. So funding sources, I thought that was a good point to make as we move forward. I know you're trying to show us as the board where monies are actually coming from for positions. I think that's very important to know. So thank you for doing that. The other thing I just want to make note and put in public is these coordinator positions, as well as the HR benefits coordinator. All these positions have already been discussed, and everyone's approved with the job description, as well as we're just filling positions at this point.
Any other discussions? Madam Secretary, Trustee Gomez.
Yeah, actually, the HR benefits coordinator title was not approved.
What did he say?
Can you repeat the question, Trustee Gomez?
The
Because-
HR benefits coordinator job title was not approved by the board.
Kimberly Wilson. Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying. And see, Vanessa's down there talking like as if we doing something wrong down here, you know what I'm saying? Her name Kimberly Wilson. Yeah, Morris, that's right, Kimberly Morris.
All right, Madam Secretary, roll call.
So you want to
But-
correct
And this is,
for
No, we correcting it with ourselves.
Dr. Mitchell? He stated that the,
Yeah, the HR coordinator position, that position was held by a former employee that was here up under the HR director that transitioned some time ago.
Okay, I'm not understanding this. Are you telling me that the HR benefits coordinator position was already there and you're filling a vacancy?
Yes.
So what was the position that we recently approved?
I don't recall a position that you recently approved. I know the one that I presented in our session, our work session, is not on this piece because that
Right.
hasn't been approved yet.
That's right, because here it is right here.
I'd like to make a motion to withdraw this, that line item for now. Obviously, there's a difference here of what was approved and what's in front of us.
the motion on the table, Trustee Gomez, withdrawing the HR coordinator spot, is that what you're saying? What was your motion, Trustee Gomez?
I was trying to get some clarity whether this position exists and what was the purpose of approving the other position that we recently did just a few weeks ago. I don't understand the purpose of why we just went through that exercise.
I'm talking about.
I'm not understanding what he's talking about.
All right, a motion made by Trustee Gomez, is there a second?
I'll second it, Mr. President.
A second by Trustee Gibson King. Are there any comments from the audience on the motion made by Trustee Gomez? And I'm assuming it's the HR coordinator?
Yeah, HR
Okay,
coordinator.
HR coordinator?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Me too.
The recording can't pick you up. I can hear you, but the recording can't.
So I ask you, 2705 East Guadalupe Circle. I am very confused. If this position was at another name and you're just giving it a new title, and you've approved it and now they don't want it anymore, so kind of like clarify me as to what Mr. Gomez is talking about.
Are there any other, are there any other comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
With all due respect to all the trustees, when you all were talking about this, it made perfect sense to me until the one trustee had the question he had. Then it seemed to throw everything up in the air. I don't understand why that particular trustee is confused and why he's asking for this to be not just tabled, but is he asking for it to be thrown out? And is this just a matter of because he doesn't have a clear understanding of the title or a title change from one, this job position has been changed to a different title name. I'd like to understand his objection, and I'd like to understand it clearly. Thank you. And I'd like to understand why was it seconded? Thank you.
I'd like to open up the floor for the board. Are there any discussions? But before I do that, I'd like to get some clarification as well. Attorney Harris, can you clarify?
Well, my understanding is that there's an objection to that position being included in the personnel report. That's Trustee Gomez's motion. It's been seconded, it's on the floor as a secondary motion. Outside of that, I don't have any other background on the basis for it, unless Trustee Gomez would like to elaborate.
Yes, thank you. I've been looking at this position, and it's not the one that we approved recently. It's not the title of the motion that we approved just a few weeks ago. There seemed to be a sense of urgency to putting this position in play, and now the position we put in play is not here. Instead, it's another title. So I don't understand the purpose of why we did what we did and why we're doing what we do now. If one was to replace the other, I guess I could understand it, but that's not how it was explained to us. And so I'm trying to find that out. I think it's a legitimate question to ask, a responsible question to ask as a school board member.
Trustee Gomez, Chairman, I have a question. Trustee Gomez, is there the position that you're referring to? Do you know what date that approval was made? Are you saying that there was a change in name?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have it. And
So I'm looking back at,
if we had minutes available, we could readily go back and view them, but I don't have those minutes.
because my recollection is that we previously had the benefits coordinator, and that was because, I think it was from a grant sources where we first, and I might be wrong, I know CFO's here, she's standing up, so I know it was a position that was already previously approved. I just don't know exactly where it came from to be paid.
Yes. Chairman, Trustee Gomez, I was just provided with additional information that this position was approved in 2021, right at the 2021, 2022. It was approved for a HR coordinator who retired and then came back up under a consultant position, and that's where the title came from. We're just, and then that position was filled by someone that was hired, someone that was hired up under the past HR director who transitioned. So this title does have a history and life here at the school city of East Chicago, and we're just trying to fill the position so we can continue the operations of human resources without overburdening the only clerk that's there. Right now, we have currently roughly about maybe 3 or 4 individuals, clerks, that have pitched in to ensure that the operations of HR continues on, and none of them are experts in the area, but we've been cross-training to ensure that we don't have too many voids, and hiring a person that has experience and education in human resources as a human resource coordinator would greatly benefit this district. Again, this is not a new position. This position has had some life here in the school city of East Chicago, and we're just trying to get the business of human resources done in the school district.
So my follow-up question then would then be, was this position posted as a benefits coordinator or as the position we just recently posted?
This position has been posted up under that title since it hit RDS, and it's been out there for quite some time. I believe it's at least 4 or 5 months, probably longer.
Okay, I'd like to see a copy of the posting, and in addition to that, can you answer to me why we?
I believe the position is still posted. We haven't taken it down, so it should still be in RDS.
Can you answer me the question of why you wanted us to approve a HR coordinator position?
I'm sorry.
Trustee Gomez, we're having some difficulties in hearing you, so.
Okay. The question was, we recently approved an HR coordinator position. What would the purpose of that have been for?
Okay, so this is what I will share with you, is when I came on as the HR director, I was asked that if, before I hired any positions, that I would either check with the superintendent at that time, my predecessor, or if not the superintendent, I would check with you all to make sure that everything was, I'm going to say, okay to go forward. So I was just following the directives that I was given back in October, November of last year. And that just meant that I brought that out to you, saying that we needed an HR coordinator, and I was asking for, making sure that you were aware that we were going to move on with that position. I've done that with, I think, just about every position that have come before you, that I've always have said that we need these positions, and then posted those positions or continued on with the searches. That's just a practice that's there. If you want me to discontinue that practice, I will. If you want me to continue that practice, I will. It's just, you have to just let me know what you want, and again, I really want to make sure that the district continues to operate effectively and efficiently with whatever guidelines or that's out there, you know. I have no reason to break any rules. I have no reason to have anything going forward. I just want to see the district be successful.
I don't think anyone's accusing you of that. Asking for clarity is a different story, though. And since that puts us where we're at today, so, you know, the past superintendent is history, so you presented this to us just a few meetings ago. So I'm just trying to get clarity. If we don't need the position, why did you bring it to us? If we don't need it, we should get rid of it.
Madam Secretary, this would be a roll call vote on the amended personnel report, item 6.01.
Sorry, no, we are actually at the removal. That's where we're at.
Yep.
Okay.
Withdraw,
The-
coordinator.
Madam Secretary, this will be on the motion to remove the, correct, to remove that position.
Trustee Gomez,
Yes,
Trustee Smith,
No.
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
No.
Trustee Gibson King,
What we doing, we removing this?
yeah.
You're removing the position. That's what he's
The
asking.
one that don't have no number, right? Is that the one?
Well, there's a couple that don't have a number. You guys are being specific.
Excuse me, Mr. Mitchell, which one are we removing? The one that doesn't have the number, the HR benefit? Okay, okay then, yes.
Chairman Rodriguez.
No. This is item 6.01. Madam Secretary, roll call for the amended personnel report.
Trustee Gomez,
no,
Trustee Smith. Trustee Hernandez Orange. Yes. Trustee Gibson King,
No,
Chairman Rodriguez.
Yes. Item 6.02, claim dockets. Are there any comments from the audience approving the approval of claim docket? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 6.02?
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Some discussion.
Mr. President, I do have a question. I asked you a few questions.
1 second. Trustee Gomez,
Thank
trustee,
you. The first one is on page 28. The number is 113802.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, could you ask him to please let his face be seen so we could hear him? Because he's to the side and we can't really hear him or understand what he's saying.
Okay.
yeah, trustee Gomez, we did hear you, but can you speak a little louder? Because it seems like we're having some issues hearing you.
Okay. Page 28. 113802.
You want to speak on
Yes, 113802, this is an education consultant who has been with the district for a number of years, supporting not only the superintendent's office, but also the building administration. This is work that, these are for services rendered, that she's fulfilled these, and she's just requesting to be paid for the hours that she's given the district.
So is this, I've asked in the past for a little more information to be put under the description. Still fail to have that information, which then causes these questions. So is that a separate
She's
line
operating.
item from the one that we approved earlier this year?
Yes.
This is, this education consultant is operating up under a contract. And anytime that you operate up under a contract, once you render services, you must submit an invoice. And so this is the invoice that she submitted, requesting to be compensated for the services rendered.
This is tied into the contract that we approved earlier this year.
Yes, this is the contract. In order to pay out a contract, that contract has to be drawn down, and a contract was drawn down with invoices. And this is an invoice.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure that it's not a separate line item. Next one's on page 29.
29.
113778.
Yes. Can you repeat that number, trustee Gomez?
Yes, it's 113778.
113778. This is communities and schools. Community schools also, there's a contract that's there, and this is for SEL interventionists. Community and schools, they have several types of services that they provide to district, and this is an invoice for the emotional behavioral supports that they provide to our students.
My question is, we now have somebody in SEL, correct?
Yes, yes, we do have a director of SEL, but also within that director of SEL, there's a budget that the director of SEL has, and there's services that can be let with that budget. And also, we have other providers that cover similar services. We have Infinity Healthcare. We have most of the people that work with our SPED department that also provide such services. Social and emotional learning is not just a one-person job. It's a job of everyone. And all of our teachers are getting, if they haven't been trained, they're being trained with SEL. It's something that's integrative to what it takes to be a successful learner. You have to take care of the whole child, the whole person, and having socio-emotional learning is a part of that. And so, yes, there's many people in the district that do SEL And this is just one of the organizations that's doing that services for us, that's providing that services for us.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the purpose, I'm questioning how this all fits together. So the final one is on page 32, 113805.
113805.
Yes.
Okay, yes, what we try to do here is anytime that we have a local vendor and we can utilize we can utilize their services, we do try to utilize their services whenever possible. And this is just, and with this materials and supplies, I believe Leela said she may be able to share with us what those materials and supplies were, but we chose Main Sporting Goods because, again, they're a local company, and we can choose someone else, but choosing someone else, if that would, we always want to support our own. And when we have a company that's within our city, or that supports our district, we would like to support them if the prices are fair and reasonable. And at this case, the prices were fair and reasonable. They weren't outside of the band. They were very competitive. And we chose to go with Main Sporting Goods. So I believe Leela is here. If our CFO is here, if she wants to add to that, she may. But hopefully that may answer your question.
Other than that, it is a special ed program that she's got coming up that she wants the kids to have T-shirts to be recognized.
So that's what I was asking the question for. I've said this at many meetings prior to today's meeting. The description only gives you a partial idea of where these funds are going to. When I don't have information to go by, I then will ask questions. I'm done with the questions for that, but there were 3 items that were moved from the last meeting. Were they added onto this docket for this meeting?
You're going in and out, Trustee
Yes,
Gomez. I have no problem with answering any questions that you have. So please feel free to continue to ask them.
Does it pertain to,
There were 3 claims from the last meeting that were tabled or removed, actually. Were they added back onto this claim docket?
If they were removed, they were not added back onto the claim docket.
So those people are not getting paid?
The people that were tabled, there was an amendment to put them back on the docket. The ones that were removed, I believe, can you help us with that, Attorney Harris? When something is removed, what is the steps to get it back on?
It just has to be on the proposed claim docket. If it was just removed altogether, there isn't anything that brings it back up unless, when the claim docket is prepared, obviously it's put back on there again. But outside of that, that's the only way it gets before the board for approval.
Okay, yeah, so Attorney Harris did address that, and I think there was additional questions, and those questions were not satisfactorily answered to one of the board members that brought them up, and so we're still working on that research to make sure that we have we satisfy the trustee that had those questions. Again, I try to satisfy all of the trustees with the information that you guys request, and I believe that, that's part of it. Once that's satisfied, we can move it on, or I will definitely take direction from the board president or the attorney in regards to this matter as we move forward. So we can definitely have a conversation about this after this meeting, and we'll see what we can do, Trustee Gomez, to get those items back to a place where it would be mutually beneficial for the school city of East Chicago.
I think that'd be responsible, because you mentioned earlier that if there are services rendered, that people should be compensated for the services. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
are there any other discussions from the board?
Yes, I got a question. So you saying that we're gonna revisit what Mr. Gomez just said about these two individuals?
Yeah, that's what he stated.
Mr. Mitchell? Yes. Okay. So I would like to know if we can talk about this here, one that he mentioned, 113802.
What page is that?
Oh, page 28. Brought that up. And also on page 6.
Actually, this has been addressed.
Yeah, but I want to address it with Mrs. Leela.
Okay, yes.
Mrs. Simmons?
And then also, another one for the same entity here, 113755, page 6.
Chairman, when we're bringing up, can we just ask what the question is so we can move forward so that whoever is kind of giving the information knows exactly what to address, not just kind of once again tell us what it is?
That's what I'm questioning here. I'm on the finance committee here. That's what I'm questioning.
All right, now,
Mrs.
what's on page
As
6?
far as that's concerned, I'm questioning all these dollars, all this money. Mrs. Vanessa Hernandez Orange, that's what I'm questioning right here. So, you know, we don't get a chance to talk about these things before we have a board meeting. We always are approving some things, dollars, money.
Trustee Gibson King, I'm on page 6.
Yes.
What number did you have a question on?
Page 6. This is the same entity that Mr. Gomez, the same name, I'm not gonna call the name, but the number is 113755.
Yes, 113755. This is another, this is a district-wide activity where everyone in the faculty, staff, and students will be participating in a district-wide event. This is coming from, give me 1 second, I have my notes. This is coming from the Operations Fund and Education Fund. This is dealing with Bullying Awareness Month. We've had a number of issues with bullying, and we want to make sure that we draw attention to that to not only mitigate, but also prevent some of the issues that occur from bullying. And one way to do it is to continue to put it on the forefront, draw awareness to it, provide information, and have different sessions and get folk involved and engaged. And we felt that looking at the funds that we had access to, that this would be a worthy event to really promote Bully Awareness Month. And therefore, we chose a local vendor again to provide those goods and services. And again, it's coming out of 2 funds. One is the Operations Fund, and the second fund is Education Fund. The Operations Fund would take care of the faculty and staff. The Education Fund would take care of the students.
I don't think we have no more education funds, do we?
Yes, we have 20, our Education Fund is, the Education Fund must be used for instruction and students, so yes.
Is it another name you said it was using?
No, it's education fund.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, but I'm gonna further discuss this with the, Mrs. Simmons. Dollar amounts here,
What's the question?
No, I'm gonna further discuss it with Mrs. Leela.
Later date.
Yes,
Trustee,
yeah.
At this time, I just have one comment to us board members. It's important for us to get our questions across to the superintendent prior to a meeting.
thank you.
Let's just make sure that we at least address, and try to get it to him early as possible. Go through your docket, and that way we can have a smoother meeting. At this time, I'm going to call to vote. So, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith? Trustee Hernandez Orange?
I just want to make sure there was no amendments, correct? Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
No.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6.03, approval of the library board position. I know that our secretary, Diane Bigham, or our secretary, board secretary, submitted a letter stating that the board member was still interested in wanting to pursue her position. And on 10/9, an email was given to all board members expressing her continued interest to the library board position. So with that said, Superintendent, do you have anything else you want to add to that? You're good? At this time, are there any comments from the audience approving the library board position for, I'm sorry? I can say her name, right?
Yes, it's not an employee. Yes, you can say the name.
Okay, her name is Miss Guadalupe Lopez. Are there any comments from the audience for the approval of library board member, Miss Guadalupe Lopez? Please state your name and address.
Princella Askew, 2705 East Guadalupe Circle. For the ones that's here and the board members, we had a meeting with the state library board last Thursday. Every trustee on the library board has 4 terms of 4 years, so they could stay on the board till they have 20 years. That's a state law. So if you want to have Attorney Harris check that out, but we were on the phone with her for 2 hours. As long as they are willing to serve, they could stay on the board.
All right, now.
Is there any other comments from the audience? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 6.03?
Yeah, Mr. President, I make a motion to approve 6.03.
Motion made by trustee Gibson King, second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6.04, approval of Starbase for Washington Elementary. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, Starbase has been a great partner of the School City of East Chicago, and they're now bringing on their 4th elementary school with this program. It's a STEM-based program that provides students with 25 hours of STEM curriculum. It also provides field trips to the STEM camp, the STEM base, and also provides materials and training for our teachers. So this is a wonderful program. We would like to add Washington Elementary to the STEM, the Starbase family.
Are there any comments from the audience approving Starbase for Washington Elementary? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board?
Chairman, I'd like to
Madam
make a motion for approval.
Trustee Hernandez Orange makes a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second it.
Second by trustee Smith. Any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 6.05, approval of training for security with Impro Protection Services. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, professional development is always a plus anytime you're trying to increase and maintain the culture and climate of a school corporation. Our security is in need of training and the professionalism that they've displayed, and they're there in the schools every day They're there at all of our activities. The more training they have, the better service they'll be able to provide. This particular training will cover not only professionalism, but situational awareness. We've also had some issues with vaping and things like that. They'll get training with that, as well as standard response protocols after threat. And they will also have some training on building positive relationships, not only with our students, but with the community. I recommend that to the board that we extend the courtesy to our security and get this train, and let them participate in the training for professional development.
Are there any comments from the audience approving the training for security within Pro Protection Services? Hearing none, do I hear a motion by the board to approving item 6.05?
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. 6.06, approval of MOU, oh, I'm sorry, that one's gone. 6.07, approval of MOU with Lake County Sheriff Safe School Program. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, the Lake County Sheriff Safe School Program is a program that's been around for quite some time. They've been partnering with us. At this time, we would like to engage in MOU with them to provide services for Central High School Block, Middle School, Lincoln Elementary, Washington Elementary, Harrison Elementary, McKinley, the Administration Building, and Cary Gosh. This program allows the Sheriff's Department to connect with our databases and our cameras to collect information so that they can provide the best service and best response that they can when addressing, when needs occur within our district. This is something that they do with many of the schools in Lake County, and it's been a great relationship thus far, and we would like to continue that relationship.
Are there any comments from the audience with the approval of the MOU with Lake County Sheriff Safe School Program? Yes, ma'am.
Sherry Adams, East Chicago resident. My question is, will they be working in conjunction with the security that's already in the school system?
Yes.
Yes.
The Lake County Sheriff's Department, they do provide services. As a matter of fact, I believe they've helped us out with active shooter drills and things like that. So they've been a wonderful partner, as well as the East Chicago Police Department.
Any other comments from the audience? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 6.07?
Make approval for, motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Smith. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second by trustee Gibson King. Are there any discussions?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I'm going to go with, our attorney probably didn't see this document, and I did not write this in our email earlier, but because I did not. But when I'm looking at it, there's an evergreen clause that says that this approval will continue annually or running for an extra 2-year periods if we don't say we don't want it anymore. I know we went away from doing that, the evergreen clauses. So in my opinion, I think we have this tabled to our next meeting, have our attorney actually revise it under how we actually have all of our, to meet the exact same way as the MOU with East Chicago Police Department reads, remove the evergreen clause on there, just so we could be the same format as the East Chicago Police Department, and I do apologize for not seeing that.
Attorney Harris?
I don't have any problem with that. I can work on that.
Any other discussion from the board?
So I'm
Is that a
making a
motion?
motion to table
Oh, you're
this
making a
item.
motion, okay.
Yes.
So there's a motion on the floor to table. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by trustee Gibson King. Are there any discussion on the table?
Mr. President,
Trustee Gomez?
yeah, I don't have a problem with the language. I think it only goes on for two more one-year terms, so it's not an evergreen, and it's, that unless it's not renewed, it's gonna be up to the board to make that decision. Those of us that will be here next year. And I would also say that one of the facilities that was left out, I noticed, was the bus transportation garage. If that's of interest to the board, because the board makes a decision, and not one individual, if that's of interest to the board, we should consider adding the bus transportation garage to that.
Okay.
Are there any other discussions? Madam Secretary, roll call to the motion to table.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith? Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6.08, approval of nimble agreement. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, as you all are aware, for a number of years, especially recently, there's been a great deal of issues with the Human Resource Information System. We took up under advisement, looking at other systems, and we made a decision to move with Nimble. I do have one of the Andy Capitan here from technology, and he's going to address the reason for and the process they went with selecting this as the replacement for our current RDS HR information system.
Good afternoon. I am Andy Capitan, the Senior System Analyst here at School City of East Chicago. Basically to discuss why we want to replace the RDS applicant tracking software. Currently, we are experiencing issues and downtime during critical hiring periods with the RDS software. This includes the ability for potential candidates to apply online. While the RDS software fulfilled our needs at the time of purchase, it does not meet the evolving demands of human resource. As a result, the committee was established to investigate a new solution to replace the outdated RDS applicant tracking system. The committee consisted of staff from Human Resources, Technology, Data Systems, and the Business Department. After researching potential solutions and conducting phone conversations with other school districts, we determined Nimble would be our best fit for our needs. Nimble gave us a presentation to the committee. We also conducted a site visit to a local school district that implemented Nimble. They stated that they were extremely satisfied with the software and the support team. Based on the above information, the committee has determined that Nimble is the best solution for the school city of East Chicago.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the audience approving the agreement with Nimble? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 6.08?
Make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Smith. Are there any discussions? Hearing none.
President?
Trustee
I
Gomez?
only have one question, and that's, the speaker mentioned that there's the neighboring school district that has it. What school district is that?
Trustee Gomez mentioned what other school districts
Okay,
have Nimble.
just real quickly, school districts in the area include Maryville Community Schools and the school city of Hammond. And also, if you want to go for a bigger school, we'll go with Indianapolis Public Schools.
Any other discussions from the board? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6.09, approval of recommendations for the creation of the district's registrar position. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, we're recommending the creation of a new position. This is called the district registrar. This particular position will not only train the registrars in our buildings, which are our clerks need continuous training, continuous professional development, they'll be able to do that. But also, they will be charged with compliance monitoring, student tracking, as well as they will also manage the enrollment and immunization records of our students. We've noticed that when these things are not tracked and metrics aren't kept, that they kind of get out of line. And right now, we have over 500 students that haven't been tracked, and therefore going through and looking at the system that they are behind in their immunizations. Anytime that you're behind in immunizations, that can lead to an outbreak. And currently, we have a couple of schools that have incidents of foot and mouth disease and chickenpox. We probably could have got ahead of that if we would have known that those children didn't have those immunizations. So this particular position will not only, again, help with the training of our district registrars, but also be put in place to also do some enrollment tracking, where our students are going, as well as immunization tracking. This position is really needed, is not a duplication of anybody else's position, but it's one that will definitely strengthen the operations of this district, ensuring the safety and security of our students.
Are there any comments from the audience approving the recommendations for the creation of a district registrar position?
Sherry Adams, East Chicago resident. Should there be an outbreak, and hopefully there wouldn't be, is the East Chicago Health Department, would they be notified at that time that there is an outbreak in one of the public school systems, and then what would happen from there? Because I have a 94-year-old aunt who's still working in the school system.
Yes.
So if there are any outbreaks in the school system, I'd be kind of concerned about her. Thank you.
Just to let you know is that we work really closely with our healthcare providers in the city. We do work really closely with the Chicago Health Department as well as the other medical facilities around to ensure that we keep a pulse on what's going on so that we're responsive, and whenever we can be preventative, we're going to be preventative, and this is a preventative measure.
Are there any other comments from the audience? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board approving item 6.09?
Motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Smith. Is there a second? Second by trustee Hernandez-Orange. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, roll call.
Mr. President, I do have questions.
Trustee Gomez has a question.
Yeah, thank you. One, with this position, who does this individual report to?
This position will report to the Director of Information Technology. This position has ties back into our information systems, and so a lot of this is data tracking. However, the reports from this particular position will go to our healthcare, our nurses, it'll go back to the registrar, go to the principals. So this information will be disseminated to the proper entities, as well as our health department, if so, that they would need to have that information to, again, be preventative and proactive if there is ever such a need.
And the salary?
The job,
Say here it offers competitive salary.
the job description as well as the salary schedule was attached.
I don't have it here. Oh, I'm sorry, I do have it here, I do see it now.
Any other discussions? Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes,
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez-Orange? Yes. Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 6.10, approval of the recommendation of salary increase to optimize business office operations. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes. This particular piece, over the past few years, I'm going to say couple of years, we've expended a significant amount of money on consultants to come in and do training and for business operations, especially with our payroll clerks that's in the buildings, as well as some other work that needs to happen in procurement and things like that. So in lieu of paying consultants, we have come to the conclusion that it may be better to sustain that by cross-training our current clerks that's in the business office to take on those responsibilities. They've been doing so thus far. We've started that cross-training, and now we would like to add that to their duties and responsibilities, along with some type of additional compensation for that, instead of it being a stipend over and over again, that this becomes someone's job. Therefore, that person will be not only responsible, but also accountable for ensuring that those duties are done. And that's the reason for this recommendation, to increase salaries to optimize the business operations. I presented to you all the cost, which is less than 50% of what we pay consultants to make this happen. So I believe that was also presented to you all in a work session too. So if you have any questions, I'll entertain them.
Are there any comments from the audience for the approval of the recommendation for salary increase to optimize business office operations? Hearing none, do I hear a motion from the board to approve item 6.10?
I make a motion for approval.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange, second by trustee Smith. Is there any discussions?
Chairman,
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
I just want to say I'm glad that we're doing a deep dive into the consultants. One of the things that I would always question is individuals who retire, work less hours, come back and make more. So I'm glad that you, Superintendent and his team looked at that, just so we could rectify that and empower those who we have in our ability to take on more. So I appreciate that.
Any other discussions?
Mr. President,
Trustee Gomez?
thank you. The question I have is, under the rationale, the last sentence says the reliance on consultants comes at a considerable cost, approximate expenditure of $39,000 over the past year. What has it been in prior years?
There's been similar amounts. We can get you those exact totals. I think my CFO just stepped out. But those numbers have been around the same. They range, I think that's 39,000 plus another 4,000 or 5,000. So they've been averaging between 40 and 50,000
Okay.
year over year.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussions?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you. And Trustee Hernandez, thank you for just being in my mind and taking my thoughts. But thank you. I agree.
Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange? Yes. Trustee Gibson King?
No.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. These next following items, what I'd like to do, since it's first reading, I'd like to see if I can consolidate item 6.10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm sorry, 6.11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 6.19. So if I can hear a motion from the board to consolidate these items, since they're all first readings, and they do have to come back before the board.
Chairman, I make a motion to consolidate items discussed.
Motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange. Do I hear a
I
second?
second it.
Second by trustee Gibson King. I will do this, though. Is there any comments from the audience with regards to your first reading of any of these policies at this time?
Princella Askew. My suggestion was to ask the policy people to why can't they put this in writing so the audience will know what they're talking about, because I don't know what this policy 0166 is, and it would help us if we saw it in black and white. And thank you so much for doing that.
If you look next to the policies, they do have their titles, which is right next to each of the policies. Okay. Okay. Any discussions from the board? Here, Trustee Hernandez Orange.
My only question and concern is if we could have like a special session for all these policies, because my assumption is they're all going to be approved at one time. So with that being said, if we could take that away from the actual board meeting, because it's going to last hours. And I do ask that, so if we give recommendations, there's some type of discussion with the policy committee, because if we're giving our recommendations and they're being ignored, that's not a working board. Like Trustee Gomez said earlier, it's not about one individual, it's about all 5 of us. So we should be able to have a discussion as to why the policy committee thinks of one way or not. Again, I think it'll be a healthier process too if we just do this in a special session so that it won't be 4 hours. So that's to you, President.
Duly noted. Madam Secretary, roll call on the consolidation of all policies for first reading. Trustee Gomez.
Yes, thank you. The policy committee does take everybody's comments into account, and the meetings are open. So, so long as we have something in writing, that doesn't guarantee that we're going to follow any one individual's lead. We will take that into consideration. We can, I believe Attorney Harris can confirm with Attorney Snow that we reviewed each one of these, and I actually forwarded to Attorney Snow and Trustee Gibson King the emails that were sent to me regarding considerations for previous readings. We can plan on continuing doing that. I don't believe we've done that ever before. So this is a very open and transparent process. Not everybody's going to get what they want. Hopefully, though, with everybody's input, we come up with better policies than what we currently have.
Chairman, I have a question.
Trustee Hernandez Orange.
Chairman, Trustee Gomez, just to ask the question. So when we receive our minutes and our board dockets from previous meetings, when I asked to have something looked at or reviewed, is that suffice? Because I know I asked our board secretary. Because in reality, you're here during the comment, you get the minutes of what I asked previously. All you have to do is reread them. That's actually in writing.
No, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately, because we don't have, we're behind.
Because it's your
I
preference?
mentioned earlier. So lacking those minutes, we can only operate on the open door of having the meeting. Emails will always work, but we don't always get that information in a timely manner from minutes to the time the policy committee's meeting. So
And
the preferred
what's-
method, if you're asking, the preferred method is to email myself with your questions, concerns, and comments.
I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Madam Secretary, roll call on the consolidation from
Trustee Gomez?
6.11 to 6.19.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez Orange? Yes. Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 7, Subcommittee, 7.01, Finance. Trustee Gibson King.
Oh, yes, Mr. President. Myself and the CEO, Leela, and my colleague Diane, Trustee Diane Smith.
Excuse me, Sharon, sorry to interrupt. We consolidated, but we have to approve it now.
Oh, yeah, that's
All right, I
right.
do apologize.
I'll make a motion to approve the
And I'll
consolidated
second it.
agenda items.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by trustee Hernandez Orange, seconded by trustee Gibson King.
Yes.
Are there any discussions at this time? No. Madam Secretary, roll call
Trustee
for the approval
Gomez?
of first reading.
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Hernandez on?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. Item 7, finance. Trustee
Oh,
Gibson King.
yes, yes. Myself, the CEO, Leila, and my colleague, Mrs. Trustee Smith, we had a finance meeting October the 12th. We discussed the ESSER $2 and ESSER $3, and 20% of these ESSER dollars has to be allocated toward the education to pay for tutoring in summer school and education program that is needs. As you are aware, that some of these ESSER dollars are already on our personnel report as being shown where we are using these ESSER dollars for stipend. My understanding, we do have 2 teachers that are being paid out of the ESSER dollars as well. These policies that we just spoke about, these are funding policies, and so they are all up under the operational funds. Right, Ms. Smith? Yes. Okay, and let's see. Okay, that's it. We'll have a next meeting, which will be November the 7th, if I'm not mistaken. The 6th? Okay, I'm sorry, November the 6th. That concludes my report.
Thank you. 7.02, policy. Trustee Gomez.
When I return, I'll set up a meeting for the policies to be reviewed in second reading, and we'll move forward with those. Before we get beyond this, though, I wanted to ask Dr. Mitchell, now that these policies have been approved, what's the plan on getting them out into the school district?
Once the policies are approved, we will definitely get them posted within the board docs up under the policies, and that's how they're there. So they'll be accessible not only to the employees of the school district, but also the community, whoever else wants to see them. That's the standard protocol for dissemination of our policies. They are public documents, and the public should have uninterrupted access to them. So, yes, we'll continue that process in their practice.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Other times we've not had that turnaround, so I want to make sure that we do advise our staff that there are some new policies in place. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Gomez. Item 8, interim superintendent remarks. Dr. Mitchell.
Yes, first I would like to thank all of you all for coming out and sharing with us your comments and your concerns. We're doing our best here at the School City of East Chicago to make sure that we have uninterrupted operations and that we continue to build up on the quality service that we're trying to deliver. Also, we've been spending a lot of time this year on culture and climate, and I believe that it feels different here in School City of East Chicago, especially when you walk through the buildings. And I would encourage you all, if you haven't had the opportunity to visit a school or to go to a game or to go to any of our student activities, that you make your way out there to see the wonderful things that's going on in the School City of East Chicago. We also have since the last board meeting, we've had a number of folk who have put their money where their mouth is, right? And so we have donations from many folk. We have Trustee Patty Gibson King has made a contribution. We have contributions from athletics, Coach Kenny Monroe, contributions from Stephen Watson, contributions from Athletes in Charity, and a special contribution to Harrison School for floor seating. And that contribution, it looks like that was anonymous. So, and we have Mr. Roy Richardson has had donations with dual credit history course. And there's just been so many folk who have given and continue to give to the School City of East Chicago, as well as those who have given over this football season. We have beautiful banners that's hanging on the gates at the football stadium, and those banners will make their way inside of the buildings during basketball season. So I want to encourage you all to continue to think about East Chicago, School City of East Chicago, and the Cardinals, but also when you think about them, also think about giving, because every little bit helps. And I also want to just take time to say I really thank you all for continuing to encourage and support me in this endeavor. I'm here. And whatever you need. Yeah, I'm here, and I try to be as responsive as I can. Normally, my responses are usually within minutes in many cases, and that's kind of maybe a thing that I may not be able to keep up with. But I will tell you that if you reach out to me, I'll reach back out to you, and that's guaranteed. That's my promise. But I also want to thank, we have someone that's been really helpful to the district in making sure that not only did we get started and have one of the best school starts, I'm going to say, in Northwest Indiana this year, but we did that with the help of one of our education consultants who's sitting right over there in the corner, Miss Linda Randolph. She's done a yeoman's job. You know, these are just some of the people, and I usually don't like to call names like that, but sometimes we have to give the flowers, and we give them while we can, right? And so I want to just thank you. If I could give you all a flower, I would. But again, thank you for supporting me. Thank you for all the encouragement. Thanks for all the prayers, and I'm here for you.
Item 9, trustee remarks, 9.01, trustee Smith.
Thank you for coming out. We love you. We need your support. We're moving forward, not backwards. So don't let anybody deter you to make you think that we're not moving forward, because we are moving forward. It might not be at the pace that everybody else wants, but we are moving forward, and I do see a difference. Thank you.
Trustee Gibson King.
Oh, yes. Yes, I want to say, October the 5th at Central High School, there was the United States Hispanic Leadership Institute, and they were there with all of our students, freshmen, juniors, sophomores, and seniors. They had student leadership and an empowerment rally, and the guest speaker was Gabby Salazar. They also had a college recruitment fair, and the colleges were Calumet College of St. Joe's, Indiana University Northwest, Ivy Tech, Community College, Purdue University Northwest, and Valparaiso. This here, United States Hispanic Leadership was put together by our trustee, Mr. Jesse Gomez. Also that same day, October the 5th, we had Mrs. Comer, Mrs. Gordich, the counselors, the social worker, Mr. Clay, and Mrs. Katrina Alexandra. They also took 163 students to Bishop Knoll for a college fair, and this was sponsored by the Foundation of East Chicago. Also, October the 11th, at Central High School, Mr. D. Murphy, the band director, had their fall festival concert review for 2 days, October the 11th and the 12th, and the community was invited. Mr. Murphy and his 33 orchestra band played 5 musical selections. Mrs. Katrina Alexandra's students did the broadcasting. The 9th and 12th grade students and myself was present in the auditorium for the concert. They really did an excellent job. That same day, that same day, we had Mrs. Comer for the CTE, 16 students. They went on a field trip to West Lafayette. And to hear about becoming Teachers Day. And what that was, to recruit teachers and educators, because the students that went there, they were in the CTE Educational Pathway Program. So then also, this is also something that's very important that's coming up for our parents and students. October the 26th, 2023, there will be a parent meeting for students who are at risk for not graduating on time. So it's very important for our parents to attend October the 26th at Central High School. And the time is 8 to 4 at Central High School. Thank you. Oh, okay, one more thing. I forgot, one of the students that's in the 33 Orchestra Band, this is his flyer that he made up for the advertisement. And his name is Javier, but I'm not going to call it, I'm going to spell his last name. It's Carda. He is in the 33 Orchestra Band that he have at Central High School. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pardon? Oh, yeah, thank you.
Trustee Gomez.
Thank you. I just have a few items. I want to thank all the schools for putting together the presentations they did for Hispanic Heritage Month. They were all very well done. And so I'd like to thank them all for doing that. A couple other concerns that I still have, though, is the billboard. As I left over the weekend, and the last time I passed by that billboard, it was the same billboard that I've been bringing up for the last, I don't know how many meetings. Now, I was told that there was movement on that, maybe 2 months ago. I still haven't seen any changes there. I've also asked about the staff and student handbook at the last meeting. Have not gotten any response regarding that. And I did mention bonding previously, and want to bring that up again because the local school district was just found that they were missing, I believe, $38,000 or thereabouts. And so the handling of money is a big concern of mine. And Dr. Mitchell mentioned earlier about the beautiful banners on the fence over at the football field. I've yet to see one claim of, I don't know how those banners getting up there or how much they're costing, if they are costing anything at all. So I'd like a follow-up on that so that either the banners are being donated and where those monies at. That would be my question. And finally, I did ask previously to, as we continue to grow into this school year, we are still lacking two things, and one of those is we have no goals set for the superintendent, and we also have no goals set for the board, and we're already into October. So I would hope that we have an executive session to cover both of those subjects sooner than later. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Gomez. Trustee Hernandez Orange.
Yes. So I just wanted to say that first and foremost, at the end of the day, if there's no exact written documents and goals, there was a comment that we discussed between the entire board, and that was the goal of putting children first when making a decision or just guiding our way in our path. So we should always just make sure to go with that. With that being said, it was asked by our last board meeting, because it was 4 hours long, to make sure that we address items to our superintendent as well as the other board trustees. I read my packets when we get them, and I did not give Dr. Mitchell anything until Sunday. He responded to, or actually Monday morning, he responded to every single item, as well as the CFO did the same thing. We probably could get this moving along a little faster when we do that. I try my hardest to give it to him. I hope that we all give our due diligence. I'm not saying do not ask the questions. I know once you're in the boardroom, you might have a question from something that you heard from someone else. So there's a discussion that has to be done. But the initial conversation should be in an email. Dr. Mitchell, just a reference of point. Some of our other superintendents we had would make phone calls because some of the board trustees didn't like to use email. That might be a possibility. But some of the questions I feel like could have been definitely answered ahead of time. The other thing is we are discussing items on the agenda or the claim docket, some that have already been approved with amounts that have been approved. And now we're questioning the individuals working, and their work is always the proof. So thank you again to Ms. Randolph for opening us up with us, as well as giving all of us a lot of guidance, because it's definitely needed. Just to make mention again about the job postings, and I know our IT department was working on it, so you cannot go on your phone, on an outside source still for the RDS. And I don't know if it's a transfer of NIMBO to RDS. Okay, so just FYI that's happening. In our work session that we previously had, I thank you for coming with org charts, and I'm waiting for the rest of the information that's given to us, as well as that's when a handbook for our students as well as our staff have been discussed. Again, when there's a lot of moving parts, sometimes you can't get to everything. Trust me, I understand that as I transition to a new position, there's a lot of moving parts. So Dr. Mitchell, I might not agree with everything that you're doing, or I agree with most, but I do commend you to working and navigating through all the issues. Finally, I love to see that our trustees are in the buildings for our school districts. I think it's great that they see your face. And I love the fact that our current superintendent does not say, do not go in the buildings because you don't want to hide anything. So kudos to you for opening up. I just asked our board trustees to be, how do I say, mindful that there's business going on in the school day. You don't have full carte blanche to just walk wherever you want and do and see whatever you want, because there is education being done. And I used to get yelled at by our trustee Gomez for her saying that my people, my school, my this, my that, and wanting to go through. So I'm just passing on the information that Trustee Gomez used to give me. On top of that, and finally, on this Friday, the 20th, there's a trunk or treat for the city of East Chicago. They're providing treats for our students, and that's going to be at the Todd Park. And we start off at Kerry Gosh in the parking lot there, and you'll do the trunk or treat that goes all the way around. The school city of East Chicago always participates, and they usually have tons of people there. Our children will get tons of goodies, let's say that, not sugar, goodies. So I hope to see our students there and enjoy. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hernandez-Orange. Next is our public forum. Attorney Harris.
Yes, when you step to the podium, if you could, please state your name and your address. Your comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful to the audience, the board, and the members of the staff that are present. Refrain from discussing any personnel matters, and please be kind. Thank you.
Okay, who has the list? Has anybody?
Mr. Howard.
You're first.
Secretary is not here. Oh.
Thank you. Sherry Adams, I'm an East Chicago resident. You all say that we can't say anybody's name, so I'm going to try barely hard not to. So I'll try to reference a piece of fruit, and I'll say this. If an orange hanging from a tree in a grove in Florida can withstand the wind and the breezes and the temperatures and still manage to check its emails and be curious and inquire and come to a meeting, this orange off of this Floridian tree, and be able to articulate those questions and ask those questions as respectfully as possible, but with the greatest of determination for an answer. When a funeral director who has the responsibility and the mindset of not calling one family by another family's name and not addressing that family with the wrong dead person's name, and will use their expertise to check their emails and write down pertinent and important questions that concern that funeral director, then I'm so curious as to why no one else on this board can do that. If a fruit on a tree can check its emails, if that orange can check an email, then I'm so curious to know why some of the rest of you cannot, and instead will bring your homework to class and look for someone else to do it for you. Is unacceptable, should be unacceptable to the rest of you on that board, and from what I'm hearing in the audience, is definitely unacceptable to the audience members. Do better and use that orange hanging from that Floridian tree in that orange grove as an example of how you should look up your emails, read them, ask questions prior to whomever you need to ask it to. I'm sure those phone numbers are available to you. Return your questions in the form of an email if you need to, or a text. But then 2 board members, and I won't mention your name, quickly shut down monies for T-shirts for babies. What are you here for? And not just for children, if I heard correctly, disabled children. What is your problem? Thank you.
Is anybody else signed up? Yes, ma'am.
Rakisha Walker. I have a question about getting my son a 504. I have contacted Miss Tammy Poe and his principal and a social worker at his school. And I know that when I send an email and write a letter, that the school district only has 10 days to get back with me, and nobody never got back with me. So I don't know what else to do. And this was second week in school, and his grades are reflecting that. And he has ADHD.
President, can I address this? I know this is out of protocol, whatever, but can you just give your name to Dr. Yanders, and we'll make sure that we do that. This is totally out of protocol and out of order, but I do want to make sure that the issues with your child is addressed.
Okay, thank you.
Prince Alaska?
Thank you, Princella.
Is there anybody else who signed up? Okay, so that concludes our public forum. Date and time of our next meeting is Monday, November 6th at 6 p.m. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Smith, seconded by Trustee Hernandez Orange. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Trustee Gomez?
Yes.
Trustee Smith? Yes. Trustee Hernandez Orange?
Yes.
Trustee Gibson King?
Oh, yes.
Chairman Rodriguez?
Yes. That completes our business portion of the meeting. Thank you.